Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
It's a good Monday, right?
It is.
Happy Monday. Welcome to Marital Mondays. We're just giving it a second here and we'll get started so we can say hello to everyone in Facebook land. There we go. There we go. Hey, everybody. Hey.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
You want to say something, babe?
Mm-hmm.
No,
just joking. Just want to say good morning to all those watching, all those listening. We want you to continue to share, continue to like, and continue to spread the word of what we're doing, because it's not just about the Wilsons, it's about everybody that's out there.
Right. We want to do this thing called marriage together. We just want to get people on. That's all I'm doing over here, y'all, just inviting people. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Hopefully everyone had a good Thanksgiving. I know we had a good Thanksgiving.
We did. Hopefully everyone got a chance to see some of their family and friends. And my fan favorite, hopefully everyone got a chance to talk to that person who they haven't talked to in a while, or invited that person who they would have normally not invited, because it was the holiday season. It was Thanksgiving. That's what it's about.
Invite the person that you normally don't invite.
Absolutely. That person that you've been avoiding talking to.
I love it.
Did that happen? Did it happen?
Right. So today we have the honor of answering your questions. We sent out some messages on social media and we got a big response. So thank you to everyone that responded. So what we're going to do today is we're going to pick 5 of the questions. We got about 15. Mm-hmm. And we're going to pick 5 of them. And we're going to answer them, but there's going to be a time limit so that there's some people that love to talk, maybe can have a little bit of a time limit. So we're going to have 5 minutes to answer the questions. We want your feedback. We'll have some fun hashtags for you to throw in there if you agree, or you can create a hashtag if you disagree. But we're going to go ahead and get right into it, right? Yep. So I always start with a scripture, and my scripture is Genesis 2:24. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. I love the scriptures that talk about the man and the wife becoming one or enjoying one another. So that's my scripture for today. And we have a bucket of your questions here. So we're going to pick them. Go ahead, babe, pick one.
All right, here we go. And let's see what we got here.
Let's see. Ooh, how do you make time for each other when a nap seems more exciting than a date?
What's the question again?
How do you make time for each other when a nap seems more exciting than a date? You started the time. Okay.
I started the time.
All right. You want to start?
You read the question, ladies.
Really? First. Okay. So this one is a difficult one because, as you all know, hey, Tamara, as you all know, we have 4 children in our household. He works full time, and I'm the kids and doing other stuff full time, a ton of other stuff full time. So this part is really, really, really tough. I can't say that I'm perfect at this, but one of the things I can say as far as making time is it starts in the morning. So I can only speak for a woman, or for, because I'm a woman, but for women, it starts, women, it starts early in the day. So don't come rubbing up on us late at night if you haven't helped out that process throughout the day. It could be a simple text message. And that might put a little bit more pep in our step. Ladies, let me know if you agree. But for me, I know when I get that text message, just so you know, I'm still in love with you, or I love you, or can't wait to see you. For me, good morning, Aunt Linda. For me, that does a little something where you're looking forward to your spouse being home. I'm not saying it gives me tons of energy, but it kind of refocuses things and lets you know, or lets me know to focus in on him a little bit later on when we get together. But for me, I would say it starts early in the day.
Yeah. And I agree. I agree with your thoughts. And from my perspective, when I look at that particular question, I'm thinking about all that goes on throughout the day. And if I know that we have date night coming up, I'm actually looking forward to it. So that way I can start dating the person who I fell in love with. That way I can have some fun outside of work, outside of the kids, outside of discussing the bills, not the Buffalo Bills, the monthly bills. Okay. So that way we can have a little bit of fun. For me, that's an exciting time, the anticipation and thinking about it. So even if I am tired, who knows, maybe I might decide to try to get a 15-minute, what we call power nap. So that way our date can go fine. I love date night, and you're my best friend, and you're the person I love going to do things with. So even if I am tired, I'm gonna put on that face and keep on pushing. Just like if I was tired at work and I'm in front of a client, I'm not gonna ask them to take a nap before we get started with whatever I'm there for. I'm gonna go ahead and still work. So I should be putting more investment in you. So I don't really let that kind of get to me. Now, if I'm about to get ready to pass out and I can't drive because I'm that fatigued, then maybe I'll say, sweetie, let's alter our plans just a little bit. Let me get 30 minutes in.
Yeah, good for them 15-minute cat naps.
And we've done that before from the standpoint of, so that way I can be effective, because when you're tired and, you know, you get cranky and, you know, you can mess up a date, and I don't like wasting money. And I like to
but
date
I'm talking,
often.
or this person could be talking about the average day too, like Monday through Friday. You got 1 minute, boo.
I just went off of it. It said date night, you know, so I figured I took it as they were looking to go out. But I do agree with you. I already know that I better be sending some text messages, some little phone calls. I'll do this where I'll call for a few minutes and don't anticipate being on the phone for a few minutes, but just to say hello. All right, just want to hear you breathe. That's it. Gotta go.
Yeah.
Just to kind of warm that up a little bit.
But it takes a little bit of work, especially for us ladies, especially if you're with the kids. It definitely does take a little bit of work. And
it's intentional. It's intentional. So on the days that I know I want to date you, so that way we can have a good date night. There's some certain stuff that I'm gonna try to avoid doing. I'm gonna try not to be a knucklehead on that day, particularly because I know that word said date night. You see how the men's mind think? We think date night, so we're thinking date night.
Y'all thinking more than date night.
But you all are thinking about date day. I mean, I'm
right.
glad. So, but that's a real thing.
Work. Yeah.
You date all day.
Yeah.
So that you can have a good date night.
I'm telling you, like on a Saturday when I'm home with the kids all day, I'm not thinking about date night. I mean, I'm starting to learn to get used or like look forward to it, but he does those text messages, or I'll shoot him a text and say, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. Thank you so much for being home with our kids, or something like that. Just to kind of set the mood. It takes all day, right? Okay, next question. Time up.
Is it time up?
Yep, it's time up. You put 5 hours, not 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
All right. All right, so next question. All right. Do you believe someone in a marriage should know what the other mate's passions are? That's a good question.
Do I believe someone in a marriage should know
what the other mate's passions are?
Absolutely. You definitely need to know what you're getting into. I mean, okay, so if you're in a grocery store and you're about to get ready to buy something that you've never eaten before, aren't you going to look at the ingredients? Aren't you going to see, well, let me see what is in this? Make sure you don't have no allergic reactions to anything. Make sure it's something that you like. Like, for example, for me, I don't like cottage cheese. So I want to make sure there's no cottage cheese in there. Mm-hmm. Okay. If you have a passion to jump out of airplanes 2, 3, 4 times a week, and that's what you're going to want our date nights to be. If I'm afraid of heights and I don't like being in planes, I think I would want to know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to know
just
that.
Try it, right? Just jump, right?
So it is. You should want to know what each other's passions are, and
I think you should want to know too. At least for me, I would want to know, because that's a part of knowing what am I getting myself into. Are we going to mesh? Like when we met, James knew I was a busybody, and when we met, there was some things that I was into. But he knew that there was going to be more. He knew my passions. He knew what made me tick. And same thing with him. Like I know there's certain things that he loves. Maybe I'm not that interested in, but you can also learn too how you complement one another, because there's things that I'm not very passionate about that he is. And instead of saying you need to be like me, those passions become strengths in our relationship. So he knows that I'm a busybody, and that there's certain things that I love to do. But he knew that from the beginning. But I would say, you know, a lot of us are already in those long-term relationships. A lot of us are already in those marriages. Learn your spouse's passions if you don't know them. And then it also promotes growth within your relationship, because
Absolutely.
if I support his passions and he supports mine, you're talking about a major coming together and supporting of one another. And that makes your relationship grow too.
Absolutely. And I hear you saying the word passions. And in our house, we use the word excitement or excited. There's a lot of things that you are excited about, that you get excited about. And that's the same thing as far as passion.
Right.
And I have to remind my wife that just because I'm not excited the way that you are, that does not mean that I'm not interested. It's just that I have a bunch of things that excite me. That might not be one of them, but I'm down for it because you're excited about it. So if you don't get that same expression or that same laughter that you're doing, that don't mean I'm not interested, and I can get in where I fit in. But it's good for you to be excited. It's good for you to have a passion. I want to be aware of it so that way I can know what you like and what you don't like. And I don't need nobody else trying to help fulfill your passions. And well, come on over here. You can go do this with me. I'll be excited for you. I'll show interest in you. See, that's why I want to know. I want to know so that way I can make sure. Absolutely, because I'm gonna be looking at somebody crazy.
No, you should want to know because you want to know.
Well, in addition, I should want to know because I want to make sure I don't leave no opportunity for nobody else to pull up in my area talking about, oh, well, no, you busy doing everything else. You don't care anyway. I got this. Yeah, you're gonna get some, all right.
Really?
Absolutely.
Okay, so back to the point.
That was the point?
My point is the passions part can also build a relationship, because if you know somebody has support for you, right, Aunt Linda, help us. If somebody has support for you and has a love for what you do, even if they don't share the same excitement, that does something in your relationship too. Having your spouse's support definitely does something in your relationship. So anything else on that one?
Hey, stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. Listen, but again, that's why I want to know your passions. I do know your passions, and I want to continue to find out is your passions evolving? Yeah. Because it's not going to always be the same. Don't fall into that trap. Well, you're not the same as you was when I first met. I shouldn't be the same. Right. I should be growing. I should be evolving. I shouldn't like being in the same exact city, only going to the same exact place, not opening up your mind to other things. So I'm on the lookout for if your passions are changing. Are you getting involved in anything else? Is it going to always be like this, or are you going to eventually want to do anything else? Yeah. I want to stay on the lookout for that. So
that's a good point.
Next question. Let's see what we got here.
Yeah.
All right. After your spouse has cheated on you and you give them a second chance and they do it again, do you walk away? After your spouse has cheated on you and you give them a second chance and they do it again, do you walk away?
Okay, so a lot of people have been in relationships where the other person has cheated, and has experienced that. And I can tell you personally that it's something that tears you apart. There's so many different things that goes through my mind when I see this question, because one of the first things that comes to mind is if your spouse has cheated, immediately don't involve the whole world. And I say that because that's a time of kind of like mass confusion. You're trying to figure out why, with who. If you're a woman, how did she look? What did she have that I don't? There's so many different things that is going through a woman's mind that I would say, find a good sister girlfriend, or maybe a counselor like I had to, but don't involve the world, because the last thing you want is to involve everyone else's opinions into your relationship. And immediately after the first time, counseling, or you need to figure out if that person is in a spot where they're willing to change. And I'm speaking from personal experience. I'm not, projecting, that on anyone, because you have to do what's right for you. But I do know that it's a very, very, very hurtful time. And we know that, people say, well, God does not believe in divorce. The Bible says that God hates divorce, but there's grounds for it. So that's it's at that person's discretion. It's at that man or woman's discretion. Again, there's so many different things going through my head on this. 2-3 times, for me, I'm gone. But again, you have to see repentance on that, on behalf of the other person. And you know that person well enough to know if it's something that they're playing around with you, or if it's something that they're really trying, and you'll see the fruit of it. You'll see the coming together, again, the counseling. Let me look it in.
And, it says after your spouse has cheated on you. So this has happened before. So I'm hoping that when it happened the first time, what transpired that allow you all to keep on moving on? Was there a time of repentance? Meaning, was there a time of showing remorse?
Mm-hmm.
Was there a conversation that you all
had?
And
that's a long process.
Was there room for forgiveness in there? Because it's going to be tough if you all, okay, here go some flowers, here go some candy, here go some jewelry. I'm sorry, won't do it again. But there was not room for forgiveness. So
forgiveness on whose part?
No, in the relationship, because for one, the person who cheated has to be remorseful and ask for forgiveness and so forth as well. But there are certain things that you all have to discuss, so that way you can know if you're strong enough to stay in it.
But can I just add to that? The forgiveness part goes on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you, before I chose to move on, I had to choose whether I was going to move on and forgive or stay and forgive. Either way, I had to forgive because I didn't want to impair my relationship with God, right? Because it's clear that the Bible talks about forgiveness.
Yes.
So if you're going to stay, then you choose to forgive. But if you choose to leave, you still choose to forgive. And right, Aunt Linda, forgiveness heals the heart. So go ahead.
Absolutely. But that's why I wanted to touch on that part. Did the forgiveness happen? Because most people think that, okay, the person who cheated on me, oh, no, he or she better, get on their knees and beg for my forgiveness.
That might help.
But that'll probably help. But it got to be a two-way process. And then what parameters was set up? Was it established that, listen, the next time this happens, as much as I love you, as much as I'm in love with you, there are some things that's going on with you that I don't think that I can be alone for this ride.
And that takes a long time too. Let's not say, oh, I'm sorry, won't happen again, move on. That takes some time, because once you break somebody's trust, you have to be willing to commit to that process to regain it. And then I want to say too, for women, we torture ourselves. So there's some things mentally that we have to pull back on. And I know you want to say something.
Again, and when this happens, try to work out the problem within the confinement of you and them.
Not everybody else, because all your friends gonna say leave them.
And I'm talking about your family
and your
too.
Family,
I'm talking about your family too. Next question.
We need like 10 minutes.
That's the timer.
We need like the timer. There's a lot of stuff going through my head on that one. Okay. How are you able to be happy when your spouse is controlling? Woo! You start with that one.
So how are you able to be happy when your spouse is the boss? Think that they are the boss, want to be the boss.
That's different from really.
Oh, that's not what it said. Okay.
It says controlling.
Controlling. Okay. See, my mind was going there. How are you able to be happy? It's tough to be happy, whether you feel like you're being controlled or not, because, happiness is kind of spent off of your emotions when you wake up. And if you like what you see, if you like who you are, if you like what's going on, then you decide if you're happy. I mean, you wake up sometimes and things bother you, and then you decide that you're not happy. So adding something like being controlled or feel like you've been controlled, that's not going to help the equation. I think you can still, be happy, but you might not necessarily be happy in the relationship.
That's tough though, because that's a weight. It might feel like a weight every day.
But listen to what I said. You'll find areas to still be happy with. You just might not be happy in your relationship, which of course this writer, that's probably what they're referring to in your relationship. So that is tough. So
for me, I would say addressing the control. I mean, because maybe there's something that the other person is afraid of. Mm-hmm. They feel like they need to kind of control it because they don't want you to grow to a certain point where maybe you don't need them.
Right.
Or something like that. So maybe, I don't know, trying to address that behavior, and going from there, because I know there's been times where maybe I get a little about something and James will have to say, okay, well, what's the issue? So let's back up. What's your issue with me doing this? Or what's your issue, period? And I can, be honest and transparent and say, well, if this happens, then this happens, then this happens. And we can squash things right then and there. Okay, so this is my intention. So no matter what, we're in this together.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's some people that are just control. It's just in their nature.
Yes.
It's just in their nature, and that's just who they are. And at first, I know us women like that because he loved me, but that's really control. And then years down the line, when you go to do something, then you see it.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to be addressed.
Mm-hmm.
Again, there's safety in the multitude of counsel. Sometimes that counsel is other married couples you get together,
yes,
and a light bulb can go off and go, whoa. Yep. Or sometimes it's in counseling. But I would say, I'm a big advocate for the right counselors to help address your issues, because when you're in marriage, you're always growing. If you think you're going to marry somebody and there's never going to be issues, or there's never room for growth for either one of you, then you're in the wrong thing.
That's great, sweetie, and that's exactly where I wanted to pick up on. You're gonna have some bumps and bruises, so. Just think about it. Think about what age you are right now and how many bumps and bruises you might have had for whatever reason. You don't know when they're going to come. You don't know how those bumps and bruises are going to come. You don't know which ones are going to hurt more than the other ones. Mm-hmm. You don't know which ones are going to leave a certain type of scar. So how I'm tying that to this is, okay, you got the controlling thing going on. Well, those are things that you have to talk through. And that's why it is important, as we mentioned before, to know some of your mate's passions and some other things mm-hmm. about that person, so you can see those things. Okay, was this there in date number 1, 2, 3, or 4? Was this there when you all were engaged? Was this there from the beginning and you saw a bunch of other stuff that you liked, that you say, you know what, I'm gonna put that aside and I'm gonna deal with it, or I'm gonna allow that to be there because I like some of this, that, and the other that's going on. But whether it was there or whether it just came up, talking through it, letting you, if I came to you and said, but I'm not comfortable with this. This does not make me feel good. I do
then
not like this.
What makes you uncomfortable?
We got to talk through it. Whether, like you said, whether it's with counseling. Now, I will tell you, I will piggyback off that. Going to have fellowship with other married couples. Sometimes you hear some of their issues.
Mm-hmm. It'll expose some of your stuff.
It'll expose some of yours, and it should allow you to go back home and like, well, you know what? Let's talk about this. They tried it this way, and just try to see. So there's a lot of options. The main thing is communicate and talk through it, because if I love you and we're in love with each other, we got so much other stuff, but we got a couple little hiccups. At some point, those same bumps and bruises that I was talking about, at some point they healed. When you look back down at your hand and you remember that there was a scar there from a car accident, if it healed the right way, you could see a little fraction of it, but you probably don't remember what it was from. So you can still get past these type of things, but it do take time.
5 minutes. All right. Last question. Is it okay to have deal breakers in marriage, or are you stuck once you're in it? Okay, first define what a deal breaker is. You think, when I see deal breaker, I think end it, like boom, we're done. Or for some people, we can say, no, I draw the line using my code word. We need to sit down and talk about this because I can't deal with this.
Okay, and for me, and see that's actually when we first met.
He used that word so much.
I use that word a lot, and I love it right now.
And he had a list of things. We both, 3 or 4 things.
We both. I had some things that was on that list that were deal breakers, meaning if you break the deal is over. There's no let's talk about it.
Once you get married, you can't just have, you know what? I said you couldn't smoke. You picked up smoking. Deal breaker. That's not how marriage goes.
Was that on my list?
Yes, that was on your list.
Okay, all right. Well, we don't got to deal with that right now, do we? But yeah, so with deal breakers, are there? You will want to think that the answer is yeah. Like for example, yeah, you're right, sweetie. We did have some deal breakers, but you're right. Once you're married and you made that vow, you made that covenant unto God that that it was going to be the two of you through thick and thin, rich or poor, better or worse, all of those things, all those other verbal agreements, not that they're not important, but they don't matter. Let's look at how it works in business. If you have a verbal agreement about anything, once you sign a contract, that contract supersedes any verbal agreement. So the marriage vow supersedes anything that we discuss. So now, is it a deal breaker?
Now, there are certain things. If you're getting beat on or cheated on excessively, I mean, there's certain things that are just abuse. But we're not talking about those things.
We're just talking about things that's deal breakers. The best thing to do is now, if there's some things that you know that you just can't work with, I would still say, think about a lot of the positives you have in your relationship. Think about if you think that this person is the person for you, despite some of those things. Because let's say if that wasn't there, there's always going to be something. We're going to always have some issues. There's always going to be some rough patches, but there's still going to be a lot of things that you come out of. There's still going to be a lot of positive and a lot of good. I'm okay with some of the things that rub me the wrong way about you, and I'm still in love with you and still want to be with you through that, because that's through good and through the bad. So are there some deal breakers in the marriage, or are you just stuck in it?
So I would say I would change the word stuck.
Yeah.
And is it okay to have deal breakers in marriage, or have things in marriage that drive you nuts about your spouse? And do you have to work through it? The answer is yes. If we rephrase the question that way, because you're talking about two imperfect human beings coming together, trying to make this thing called marriage work, right? And what we're talking about is real stuff, because if it wasn't, 50% of marriages, or over 50% of marriages, wouldn't be failing. Right. So marriage is a lot of work, but congratulations, you are still in it. You're still in the running. Your marriage is still going. And I tell you this, and it goes a little bit back to the cheating question. The tearing that comes with a divorce, because I've been through a divorce. I tell you, if you can work it out, because it's a lot worse than going through temporary issues to grow with your spouse. Temporary conversations and frustrations and arguments are so much better than having to go through the tearing that is a divorce. I can tell you that.
Yeah, and I agree. And okay, so deal breakers. There's work through stuff.
So if I started smoking tomorrow.
If you started smoking tomorrow, what I'm going to do is I'm going to first.
Besides break the cigarettes.
No. I'm going to try to hide some of your funding habits. I'm going to try to hide some of the money and stuff. So you're just going to mysteriously not be having a purse. But if you're stuck, okay, you can choose to stay stuck, or you can choose to get yourself out of that rut. I mean, there was a saying that was out there on some commercial where it says, "Don't just sit there, do something." If you don't like where you're at, do something about it, which in order to do something about it, it takes work. Faith without works is dead. I mean,
and get creative with pulling your spouse. Get creative with pulling your spouse in.
Absolutely. So for right now, these are the 5 questions that we're going to have tackled.
Yes.
And we're going to continue actually maybe next week, and we're going to tackle some more questions. So we need a few more questions, because we want to take this month here to create some positive dialogue about it. We're ending the year. We're transitioning out. We're looking forward to 2019. How many of us is looking forward to 2019? Well, it's important to go out on the year with a bang. It's not how you started the race, but it's how you finish the race. Do you get there? So if there has been some bruises and bumps and some rough patches and so forth, you could take the last few weeks of the year and say, okay, you know what? This year it's been this way, but sweetie, I love you.
Yeah.
Let's look at going into next year on a positive note. That's why we're doing these Marital Mondays. So we want you to like, we want you to share, we want you to share, we want you to share some more.
Yep.
Help spread the word, and send those questions. Send those questions.
Yep. People like your hat too.
Yeah, it's the holiday season. And, you know, I love hats.
But he's, yeah.
I love hats. I got a lot of hats. I love hats. So if there's any type of gift that you want to gift me, a hat is fine. A hat is fine.
Really?
Absolutely.
Now we accepting gifts. Oh, Lord. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Like he said, share, share, share. Any questions, hit us up in my inbox, or you can put it right here under the feed, and we'll add them to the pile. We'll see you next Monday.
Absolutely. 8:30 a.m.
See you. Bye.
Peace.